Have you ever noticed that you can get on top of your home, fix your schedules and your tasks, all the physical things in your life, yet mentally and spiritually things can still feel out of order? That's because organization alone in your physical space isn't enough to solve the deeper issues that are going on inside you. So today I wanted to actually show you how to address the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects so you can create real balance in your everyday life. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Mel Schenker. I am an award-winning life coach. I'm the founder of She's Organised. I also host the Beyond Organised podcast, and I am a mum of four. So I have lived a lot of these things that I'm sharing with you today, and I do help women simplify their lives so they can live with greater order, peace, and purpose. So many women, they come to me thinking they have an organizing problem. And for the most part, they do. But there is also so many more elements that go into it that is more than just a home or a schedule or a financial problem. It's the whole load that is being carried. So over the years, I have discovered that rarely is it just a physical organizing problem. And that's why I teach something called the Baltrix method. So it's just 3 simple steps in it. It's identify, simplify, and flow. And today I wanted to focus more on the simplify section, which we can relate to these different areas. Now, in the simplify section, we've got the 4D filter. So it's delete, delegate, delay, and do differently. And so I'm going to expand on those more because what most people don't realize is that this filter doesn't just apply to tasks. It applies to the main areas of your life. And today we're going to be focusing mainly on the physical, mental, and the spiritual. Because if you only apply one, then overwhelm can still be present. So let's go into it. Okay. So the first area I want to talk about is the physical weight. So this is what most people come to me for, is they've got some sort of organizing problem that they need fixed. Now, for a lot of women, it's their home. That tends to be the screaming factor because you're living in it. You see it every day. You don't quite feel peaceful and comfortable in your own home. You can see things that need to get done all the time, and it's just constantly draining you. So dealing with the physical side of things, I can definitely help with, and I have helped with. And so I will touch on that a little bit today, but I've got so much stuff that goes into this stuff, and especially inside the hub, inside the classroom section, you can go through past coaching calls, you can go through all this stuff. You're going to get more detailed on the physical side of things here. So I'm going to keep it brief. With the physical side, you can look at the clutter in your home, you can look at even having too many commitments in your schedule. You're completely banked up. There's no buffer time. Perhaps your finances are all over the place and we need to have a healthy budget. And even then, I do not go on such a super strict budget because that can create some misery there too. But also just looking at the overall responsibilities that you've got. Are you a mum? Are you a wife? Are you working outside of the home? Are you taking care of elderly parents? Do you have grown-up children, babies, whatever it is? All of us are in different seasons of our life. We all have different responsibilities. And for a lot of women, when they're looking at the physical side of things, they just think, okay, I just need to work harder. I need to do more. I need to get some motivation. I need to X, Y, Z. We need to actually start paring things back. So there are amazing organization gurus out there, and many that I've followed for a lot of years when I was on my personal journey of growing and getting better in this area. Because for those that don't know, I was a very disorganized person when I first got married 13 years ago. And I have grown a lot in the process, but I also went too far the other way, became over organized and was still quite miserable. So all of this is coming from experience of being on both ends of the spectrum. Now, I can tell you that hustling, working harder, just striving and pushing through and doing it all in your own strength, is not the answer. Now, as much as we can put systems in place and we can add more things to make our lives easier, like even just in a practical sense, we can add more containers to organize the things we've got, isn't always necessarily the right thing. We want to actually look at simplifying by starting to remove things. So let's not add anything more. There's already enough on your plate. Let's start removing things first. So when we go through the 4D filter in the physical with delete, that's removing the clutter, removing the things that just don't belong anymore, especially in this season, that's weighing you down. But that you also know that, okay, maybe you finished having kids and you're holding on to all the baby stuff. Maybe it's time to start letting that go. Now, I know it can be emotional for some of you, but maybe even passing it on to a friend that's now having babies or anything like that can help ease some of that emotional stress. It could be paper clutter. It could be digital clutter. It could just be mental clutter, which I will touch on later, that's tied to physical things. So maybe you have got on top of a lot of things now, and now you're stuck with sort of all the sentimental things. Or in some cases, there have been a few women that I've been coaching that even a tissue or a piece of paper carries a level of sentiment to them. Like their brain can't quite distinguish between the things that are typically rubbish with the things that aren't. So I understand. I've worked with many women that are on all ends of the spectrum, with autism, ADHD, all of that. Now, I am not a psychologist or a practitioner or anything like that, but I have worked with a lot of people and I do understand the neurodiverse brain because I myself can relate and can be in that. It's in my family, it's in my children. I get it. So believe me when I say these physical things can be dealt with, can be sorted out, and we will touch on the mental and spiritually shortly. So delete is the first step. Remove what no longer serves you. Delegate. So who else can take on some of these responsibilities around the home? Maybe your kids can step up and make it a family effort, particularly if you've got a larger family. It's a lot for you to take on all on your own. And you shouldn't have to. Delegating can help, but it might not even necessarily be a family member. You could outsource to a cleaner, a gardener, a chef, depending on your financial situation. We've got delete, got delegate, then we've got delay. Delay, I'm not talking about procrastinating or anything like that. I'm talking about your priorities. So actually going, what's the priority for today? I encourage you to not have more than 3, ideally. And if you do get 3 very quickly, then you can come up with a new 1, 2, or 3. But I didn't ideally no more than 3 in a day because it can start to get quite overwhelming. And especially if you don't end up achieving all 3, then become discouraged, makes it harder the next day, all that kind of stuff. Talking on the physical here, look at what tasks need to get done today, what need to get done now, urgent, important, all of that, and the rest can wait. And then the 4th one is do differently. So what is a particular task that you have always done a certain way that maybe there's a more efficient way to do it now? So looking at the ways you go about things, perhaps you do all your washing on a Saturday. And so your full Saturday is taken up by washing for a household of 5, for example, and you would rather have your Saturdays to do the things that you want to do. So we pop on a load of washing each night or each morning, hang up to dry that day, put away that day. You're just doing one load a day. And then the weekend comes along and you've got all that time to do whatever you like with it. So it could just be a matter of reevaluating how you do things and go, is there a way I could break this down further, make it more simple, do it differently? So that's the physical side of things. Now, again, that was probably a bit rushed, a little bit not so polished, because I've got so many trainings on this through my podcast, through the hub, wherever you need it. And if you need help, pop in a comment. I'm more than happy to direct you towards a resource that is suitable for this. I want to spend a little bit more time on the mental and the spiritual side of the weight that we carry when it comes to getting our lives in order. So with the mental side of things, this is where our overwhelm actually lives. It's not so much in the physical. Yes, there's things that can trigger the mental response, but it is the mental side of things that carry the weight in which we view our day. So you can have a tidy home. Your schedule can be perfectly immaculate. Everything can be running like clockwork. However, if your mind is not in the right spot, you will still feel so burdened, pressurized, overwhelmed, just stuck in a rut. And this is what happened to me when I was really organized. I was highly organized physically. But man, I was so miserable and I was burning out. And I knew it wasn't sustainable in the long run because I'm just doing all these things through sheer willpower and habit. So I didn't even rely on motivation anymore. It was just habit. It was just a way that I did things, and that's how it was. But my mind was still overloaded. So likewise, you can have a home that's in complete disarray, but if you are in a good mental state, you don't necessarily see it. So we want to find a balance between both the physical world and the mental world here. But to give you an idea of what some of this mental clutter can look like, it's unfinished decisions, constant background stress. It's all the little things, all the little tasks that need to get done, the mental load that you're carrying, even just carrying all the knowledge for your family. Johnny's got a doctor's appointment here, and little Sarah's got a dance rehearsal there, and all these different things that you're constantly just carrying that just sit in the background. They don't need to always come up to the surface all the time, but it's just this weight that us as women, we carry so much of. Then there's also the guilt for not getting things done, for taking a break, having some rest and me time. Some of you are very good at it, but for most women that I come across, there is a level of guilt because not everything is done. Not everything has been addressed, sorted, scheduled, all of that. And so you feel guilty for taking a break and taking rest, but if you don't, you're just going to fall flat. So there's all that guilt, possibly even shame that comes with that. There's also the overthinking of responsibilities. So do you ever just lie in bed at night just thinking, oh, wait, tomorrow I've got to do this, and oh man, I forgot about that appointment. Yep. Oh, okay, there's this and this and this, and you're just like trying to figure it all out. And so maybe you write it down, maybe you pop it in your phone so then you can switch your brain off and go to sleep, however you do it. But there's just this constant script of things that need to go on. Or you're someone that doesn't have that running commentary, and then you're constantly missing out on appointments, late for things, showing up, and you just feel terrible. You're just thinking, my goodness, why can't I get on top of this? Why am I so out of control? It's that side of things too. Your brain is trying to manage too many open loops. You've got too many things open at the same time that are never being closed off. And one thing that I see a lot is that I'll get some me time and I'll get a break, I'll get some rest when all these things are done. But these things are just never done. So something like washing. We all wear clothes. There's always going to be washing. It is something that is never going to end. I hate to bring it up to you like this, but there are some things like dirty dishes, all these things that just never end because they're things that we use daily. So by always saying, oh, when I get through all these things, then I'll have a break, it's futile. It's just not going to be sustainable. You actually have to schedule in and make time a priority for you with your self-care in all of this. Again, I've got more resources and other things that can help with the self-care. I did recently just record the self-care sync, which you can get as an audio for $37, full course, deep dive. It's really good. Or if you're inside the hub, you can actually see the videos there as well, and that's free to you inside the hub. So to go through the 4D filter in regards to the mental load and weight that we are carrying, first up, we've got delete. So what thought patterns are running through your head that serve no purpose? What can you actually get rid of and just go, I am carrying all these things that maybe if I just write it down, it's not in my head anymore. And I've just removed all this weight from my head. So what thought patterns, what tasks even are just replaying in your head over and over and over that aren't serving a purpose that you can remove? Delegate. So with delegate, I want you to focus more on the impact that other people are playing on your mental real estate. So are you blaming other people in the family for not stepping up and doing their part? Perhaps you've got a partner that maybe isn't pulling their weight so much around certain things. Or they are, but you're stuck in your head and still viewing them through a particular lens. Perhaps it's the way that you feel needed and you get validation through doing things for other people and what that means. So under this delegate, we're not necessarily outsourcing and doing things in the physical here. I want you to think about the actions or inactions of other people, what that means to you, how that's framing your beliefs, and also what's the actual truth here. Not just the lens in which you're viewing things through, but what is true. Does everything completely rely on you, or have you just set it up that way? Yeah, okay. That probably stings a little bit, but something worth thinking about. Now, delay. Not every decision needs to be made today. Now, we talked about that in the physical, and yes, there is a mental element to it there too. And all these things are connected, by the way. So as much as I'm like kind of compartmentalizing it, it is a bit of a struggle in some ways because it does go together and it is needed. So with this delay, again, it's just going, what is the priority right now? Now, it might not necessarily be thinking on a day-to-day scale, like I was talking about physically before, but actually looking at overall in your life and just going, you know what, this friendship isn't serving me right now. Maybe I do just need to put this aside and be pouring into the friends that are also pouring back into me. Whatever it is that you need in this season to help you, to build you, to grow you. And I know it's not always about you. I get it. And I'm not talking about this from a selfish perspective. I'm talking about this from a perspective of, I see you. I get it. I know what it's like to put everyone else first all the time and to be running completely on empty. So that's the angle I'm coming from here, is actually just going, what friendships or relationships maybe need to be made more of a priority right now that I have neglected, that I want to make more of an effort on? And what other ones can I maybe just let go, set aside for now? It doesn't need to be forever. Sometimes nature just runs its course and that's the end. But maybe even just looking at the relationship side of things, because that for most people is the biggest mental hurdle, blocker, energy boost, all the good things to do with our mental state. It's not so much the tasks, it's the relationships. Again, that is something I could go in on a lot more detail, but I won't today. And then lastly with this one is do differently. So maybe you are someone that does overthink a lot and you store it all up in your head. Maybe you do need to start writing it out or dictating it into your phone, like just speaking your thoughts out when you're going for a walk. Maybe you need to go for a walk. You're someone that doesn't get out of the house much because you do have the kids and all the other things that are relying on you, and so you don't get out much. And maybe you do need to prioritize your health in that sense, and you can get out And you can unload your brain at the same time by talking into your phone and just getting it out, or calling a friend and getting it out while you go for a walk. Then the biggest thing with this mental stage that I'm going to say is that you need to come to the realization, and it will happen in a different timing for everyone, that you cannot be responsible for every outcome in your life. You need to learn to release the need to control everything. It can be really, really hard for people that have gone through trauma, abuse, domestic violence, whatever the situation is. It can be incredibly difficult to release that control when you feel like you've only got this much to begin with. But even this much is setting you back. Now, control is not a bad thing at all, by the way. The Bible also makes it pretty clear that it is godly to have a level of order and control, self-control, all that kind of stuff. So please don't hear the wrong thing in this. But this, for me, was something that was huge for a long time, and that I really, really struggled to let go of control, to maybe trust someone else to do the task, to even trust God to do his part in providing. Whatever it is, this mental stuff that we talked about with releasing the thought patterns and maybe not believing that everything revolves around you, all these things link back to control. And so it is so important to understand your view on control and how this is impacting your daily life. It's impacting the way your kids are growing up, all this kind of stuff. So I know that's kind of even a bombshell for some of you with talking about it like that. But there is so much when it comes to the mental load and the mental weight that we carry that I've only just scraped the surface of this. But it is important to understand, where have you got your open loops? What things are you carrying mentally that you can let go of, you could replace, you can hand over. Now, I want to move on to the spiritual weight. Now, this side, even as Christians, tend to not necessarily implement and think about when it comes to our daily life. Yeah, okay, we go to church on a Sunday, we worship God in the car, when we're driving to work, like whatever it is. We do a lot of things, but yet in the moment when we're looking at all the things that need to be done around the home, our schedule, all this stuff, are we including him in all of this? Or are we just doing it all in our own strength? So this is an area that most women just don't recognize, is the spiritual side. And look, you might not be a Christian watching this, and that's totally fine too. I am a Christian, and I am going to come from that Christian perspective, but you take what you feel is relevant for you in this. And I do hope this helps and serves you too with the journey you're on. Sometimes, not all the time, but I do feel like this is probably the biggest thing that people carry is the spiritual pressure. The physical one is what's staring at us, is like blindingly obvious a lot of the time. And the mental side we know is there because we're feeling exhausted and weighed down. But the spiritual side tends to get ignored, and we are spiritual beings. Yes, we're natural, but we're also in the supernatural too. The ways that you want to be a good mum, a faithful Christian, you want to honor God, you want to be a responsible leader and a good, wise steward of your time and money and resources, all these things. They're great. They are great things. And it is what the Lord asks of us, is to be wise with all these things and to be good and to call us up to a higher level. But now hear me in this. A lot of these things can then turn into being more performance-based instead of partnership-based. the pressure becomes, I need to hold everything together. I need to be able to fulfill all these things. I need to be able to go to church every single Sunday, not miss a day. I need to be part of the small group or Bible study. I need to be doing all these things for God. And then I need to be showing up as the perfect mum for my children because, their future and eternity is possibly in the balance here. And there's just all these pressures that you're throwing on top of all the things that just have to get done in your life. Jesus never asked us to carry all of these things, and definitely not carry them all alone. He actually very clearly states that it's not works that gets us into heaven. And a lot of us Christians know that, and we know we've accepted Christ, and we know that we can get into heaven through his gift from his sacrifice. But yet we still feel like there's all these things, and out of love and all the good righteous things, all these things then still turn into a performance to a degree. We think that maybe God will love us more, that he won't be disappointed in us. Like all these filters that we view it through, perhaps because of the way that we want our own dad to see us or our husband to respect us, or all these other authority figures in our life. We place the lens in which we're perhaps viewing them or wanting love from them through how we perform for God as well. Now, this might not be you. You might be fully aware of that and you are in partnership, and that is fantastic. That is so good if you are. But it's okay. It's okay if this is still looking pretty messy for you, because I'm not here to judge at all. I do not know your life. I do not know all the things you're going through. And even if I did, it is not my place to judge. But I will, through the words of the Holy Spirit here, I will help in highlighting the things that you do need to see. And the Holy Spirit might be convicting you on some things that need to change, but in a good way. Because if you're doing all these things, feeling like all these people are relying on you, that you've got to do all these things for God, and that all this stuff is just happening in your own strength, and it is turning into a bit of a show, and you feel like you've got to keep up appearances, all this kind of stuff, then I want to help free you from that. The Holy Spirit is wanting you to see right now, you do not have to be a slave to this anymore. You do not have to be burdened by this. Now, sometimes there are seasons where it's like we're not feeling it. We're in a dark place and we sometimes need to push through because our feelings can be deceptive. In fact, the Lord talks about the renewing of our mind. So it's important that you get your mind in order so your body can follow, and not rely on what your body is telling you and make your mind be beaten into submission to that. It is so important. But if our mind is in the right space and we understand, okay, yeah, I've been doing a lot of this stuff in my own strength and I am pretty tired. I love everything I'm doing. I love my work. I love my church. I love my family. I love so many aspects of my life, but I am feeling pretty exhausted, out of alignment. Something's a bit off. Then we need to look at that, and we need to look at maybe there's some areas that we just need to tweak a little bit here, where we've kind of just fallen into a doing mode, performance mode, action mode, instead of just through the flow of his love and grace and mercy and all these things, and in partnering with him. So for a lot of you, I'm not talking about changing your life, changing churches, getting a different job, all this. I'm not saying any of that at all. If you feel the Holy Spirit's directing you towards any of those things, then that's fine. That's for you and him to work out. But I am saying that there just might be a simple tweak to just get you back into that stream and that flow of things where it just happens more effortlessly rather than this constant striving. So that was a bit of a long one there. But to get onto the 4D filter when it comes to this, I want you to delete anything that represents the need to be perfect, to be getting to a certain level. And once you've made it to that level, you've made it. To be striving for excellence is quite different to striving for perfection. But even in that striving, is that necessarily what God is asking you to do? He might be. But a lot of the time, that level of effort isn't necessarily what he is asking of you right now. He wants you to take action. He wants you to put in some effort. He wants you to do some things. But are you doing it in partnership with him, where he's carrying some of this load too, where you're yoked together with him in partnership? Or are you kind of just going, all right, I've got to do all of these things. I should be doing these things. I should want to do these things. You need to look at all of those. Catch yourself when you're saying something that you go, hang on. Does that align with what I know of God? Because it could just as easily be the enemy getting in your ear, telling you you've got to do more. Well, you're not good enough. Or you've got to try harder. Whatever it is. There's a million possibilities. So I wanted to delete and remove that need to strive for perfection, to be better, to perform better, all that kind of stuff. We need to just remove that. And if you are struggling to remove it, ask God to help you remove it, because he will. Now that it's been identified, he'll help you remove it. And then this is where the delegate comes in and we release it to him. Ask him to help keep you accountable on some things. If you're struggling with accountability on being so task-driven and you want to be more present in the moment with your children, for example, and not so caught up on all the things that have to get done, ask him to help you. He will. He wants to. He wants to walk with you. He wants you to get the absolute fullest in your life. John 10:10, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I, God, have come that you may have life, and life to the max, to the full, abundantly, whichever version you're reading from. He doesn't just want you to get a ticket into heaven. Great, you're saved. You know where you're going when you die. Do you want to just scrape in there? Or do you want to get the absolute maximum out of life now, here, with your children? Maybe you're yet to have children. Maybe your children are all grown up, wherever you are in this season. Do you want more? Because sometimes to have more and have more out of life, we need to simplify. We need to let some things go. And delegating and handing over to him is a huge one. And it's a huge one for those of us that do struggle with control. Now, I have mentioned before that I have been on this journey when it comes to control. I still have to make conscious decisions when it comes to control. But my goodness, I'm so much further ahead than I ever used to be. It is possible. It is possible to actually genuinely hand it over and trust that he's got you. He's got you. Sometimes he allows that chaos and confusion and all that to happen, not because he is a God of that. He's not. But so you can then get to a place where you can experience peace, order, harmony, whatever it is, despite that. Because life is going to throw that at you. The enemy is going to constantly throw that at you. The more you align with the Lord, the more the enemy is going to try and come after it. But if you can learn to submit your control and to rest in him despite what may be going on around you, that is like ultimate power. You are empowered now that it does not matter what the enemy throws at you. You won't be derailed. You will keep moving forward. You will take whatever it is and learn and grow and be better for it and bring other people up with you. I mean, that is like ultimate flex. I feel myself getting emotional thinking about it and talking about it because I think of the struggles and the journey that I've gone through and how hard it's been, even since starting my business, to be honest. But the position that I was even in and how far I'd come even when I started my business, I just think far out. God is using every testimony, every experience to put me in a position of authority, to help me bring up women to a higher level, to not be so weighed down by the things that the enemy throws at us to distract us and derail us from our real true purpose and calling in life. And that's huge. That is so huge, to be able to move and walk in alignment, in purpose, and kind of like my podcast, it's called Beyond Organised. The tagline is to simplify your life, amplify your purpose. And that, I feel like, has almost been the motto for how I coach and how I do life. I want to help you simplify so you can amplify all the things that matter. And when you start doing these things, it happens. So to get back to the 4D filter on this, delete. So delete the beliefs and the expectations that you feel you have to achieve perfection, to be good enough for God, whatever it is. To delegate and release and hand over all these thoughts and expectations and things that you've just really put on yourself that He never asked of you. Hand it over. But there's also things that, we need to carry, we need to do. It's the season we're in. We can't ignore it. We just have to go through it. And He wants to carry the load with you, and He will if you let Him. And it is amazing how instant it can happen too. Then there's also a delay. Now, in this, not every idea or calling is necessarily for now. Sometimes He will give you ideas, inspirations, encouragement, because you need to get through this season. And it's to help you see where you could be 10 years from now, or whatever the situation is. But the idea or the calling isn't necessarily for this season. You could still be in one that He's already called you into prior, that He hasn't closed the door on yet. You're still meant to be here in this season. But on the flip side, if you are someone that is always thinking, one day I'd love to do this, one day I could do this, I might be able to achieve this, but right now, I've got little kids, all this stuff, I can't do it. It's not going to happen. The Lord called me into this business when my fourth child was 7 weeks old. I can tell you now, I did not want to do it. I was like, this is terrible timing. I don't want to. I didn't even want to have a business. I don't want to do that. But the Lord very clearly gave me the blueprints and a full download for how this was going to look, to a degree. Just enough to get me started, get me going, head me the right direction. But my goodness, so much more unfolded since then that I could never have envisioned. And it's been amazing, really. Even the hard parts I'm grateful for. So if you're also someone that delays too much, puts things off too much because you think, I'm too young or I'm too old and that time has passed, can I encourage you to not wait on it or sit on it anymore? Bring it before the Lord and go, Lord, is it you that's really putting this desire in my heart or burning this thing in me? Is now the time to be doing it? Bring it before Him. But also trust that He has given you a brain and you can make the decision too. So anyway, that I feel like can open a whole can of worms with that one. Now do differently. I want you to shift from striving to surrender. I'd have to say would be one of the biggest learnings of my life, especially for someone that struggles with control, is to move from that striving, hustle, effort into surrender, obedience, and alignment. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot, particularly in the New Age, but trust that all these things, even in what you might see in the New Age or any other religion, nothing is in existence or has ever been created that didn't have an original format that God created. So the enemy will hijack things, half-truths here and there, pervert and twist things. Even when you think about intimacy, how God created that to be beautiful, but how the world has perverted it in a lot of ways. Doesn't mean that anything that you come across is necessarily good or bad. It just depends on the lens that you're viewing it through. Are you viewing it and aligning it through what God is saying and what his purpose was for this task, this situation, this purpose and calling that he's wanting to step you into? Are you seeing it through the way that God is seeing it? Or are you seeing it through maybe the way the world is seeing it? So maybe we need to shift the way in which we go about things, in the way we view things, the lens in which we're viewing things. Pop on the glasses that are Holy Spirit filled and not anything else. So if you can work through even this filter, the delete, delegate, delay, do differently on that spiritual level, then we really start to see a shift even in the physical and the mental. The spiritual is a huge part of it and has to go in with it. So that was a lot of talking. And if you're still listening and still watching, thank you. Because by this stage, you would have understood that, yes, there's physical things you can do, tangible, practical things, and there's plenty of resources for it. Maybe you might even feel validated in some of the ways that you're feeling mentally and the load that you're carrying. But the spiritual side has to go with it. It is the key to actually eliminating the overwhelm, the exhaustion, all this kind of stuff that goes with it. It's a way to actually step into this energy. I'm not saying energy in like a kooky sense. I'm saying it in like an actual, you feel good. You feel good. There's a buzz. There's like, you actually have the strength and the energy to go through because it's not all your own. You've now tapped into God's strength, God's energy in all of this to sustain you, to propel you, to not just keep you surviving, but cliche, but thriving. So to just round it up here, when many women think they just need to get more organized, more in control, and then they beat themselves up because it's like, why can't I just deal with that thing or get started on doing this and that? It's not about the physical. That's one element. And yes, it's a big one, and it's what other people tend to see is the physical and what's happening in the natural here. But what you actually need to see is the full view, different way of carrying your life. You need support. You need a way that actually structures and supports all these different areas. Now, there are other things like we could talk about the emotional side and all these other things too. I'm just focusing on the physical, mental, spiritual today. But there are other elements that tack into all of this too. When you start to align with all these three things together, the physical clutter is reduced. The mental load is released and the spiritual alignment is restored. Order brings peace. It's important to have it in such a way that it's empowering us, it's strengthening our relationship with God, it's stepping us further into who He's called us to be and into fulfilling our calling. The pressure comes when we're carrying it all in a way that was just never meant to be carried. It's like you've got all your groceries and you're just carrying it all in your arms instead of carrying it in the bags, sort it out into the different things, and you can distribute the weight evenly. was never meant to just be, and the tomatoes are falling on the floor. It wasn't meant to be like that. There's meant to be a level of structure and order so you can unpack it a lot easier. So I would like to challenge you with 3 things in the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. So the first one, and using perhaps the 4D filter in this, but in the physical, what is one thing you can remove from your schedule or your space that's going to help free you up a bit? And in the mental, what is one decision or worry that you can release or even postpone strategically? And spiritually, what is one place that you need to trust God instead of carrying the outcome yourself? When you start shifting in all these areas, even just in the smallest way, you actually experience a level of freedom. So if you are wanting to experience some of this freedom and you are not inside the hub, I encourage you to join the She's Organised hub, and we'll definitely tackle a lot of the physical and even mental side of things here. There is a touch of spiritual in there, of course. But for everyone, whether you're in the hub or you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you are, if you are wanting to go deeper, particularly into how all this fits together with the spiritual as well as physical and mental, but if you're needing that real, I have to get things in order and aligned here spiritually, because I know that's the key to be able to deal with all these, because, physically I'm good. Like, I'm super organized and I've got all these things in place. Mentally, yeah, I know that I can work on a few things here or there, but spiritually, that's the thing that I know is going to really break me free. Then I want to encourage you to join my Kingdom Woman Breakthrough. Now, this is a container that at this stage I'll be running every quarter, and it is for Christian women, whether you're in business, leadership, ministry, or you are just someone that is simply wanting to dive deeper into how you can maximize your day, maximize your life, get the most out of it. You can step more into your purpose and calling and who God says you are, all these things. There is so much depth that goes into this. I encourage you to apply. Now, there is just a short form to fill out. I do encourage you to apply. And if I feel like, yep, we're a good fit, and I do pray over every single person. If I do feel like we're a good fit, then I will happily welcome you inside this Kingdom Woman Breakthrough. Now, I will have the link with wherever you're watching this. Go to the notes. I will have a link there to help you apply and give you some more information on this. And if you've missed a current round, you can still apply and pay for the next round. And something that I would love to do is, if you've applied for one round, you will have access to all the future rounds. So you will get a lot out of this. And I don't make promises because everyone's shift and journey and outcome experience, all of that is different. But I can almost guarantee you there will be a level of transformation that is going to set you up for the rest of your life. Because once you see these things and you learn these things and the Holy Spirit reveals even more to you on this, you can't undo it. So you have to be prepared to be challenged in a way that is really going to elevate you to that next level. So I want to encourage you, if you are capable and you're achieving goals and doing things in so many ways, but you know that you need God to help carry some of these things more, you need to hand some of these things over. Perhaps you've lost yourself into your title, your role, that's become part of your identity, all these kind of things. If you're needing help with any of that, I do encourage you to join the Kingdom Woman Breakthrough. So wherever you're listening to this from, I encourage you to leave a comment I would love to hear your key takeaways and what you're getting out of this. And if I've recorded this years ago from when you were watching this, I would still love to hear from you because I'm sure that I've got more content and more stuff out by now that will talk more further into this and probably have testimonials and more things as well from the women that have gone through Kingdom Woman Breakthrough, that are from the She's Organised Hub, all this kind of stuff. And it might have a different name in the future, but just check the notes and all the details will be there for what is current, because I will make sure to update it and keep it current even in the years to come. But thank you for listening, and I would love to hear from you. And I hope to see you inside the hub if you aren't already, at the very least. So I'll see you there.